Today we're going to be doing murder for OCR A Level Law and we're going to be going through the essay structure. So let's get straight into it. But just from me first, a quick tip. So by the end of this video, you will know all the elements for a murder question. So I just want you to remember that for OCR, AA1, which is knowledge, is worth 8 marks, and you need this in order to earn the other 12 marks for application. So today, we're going to be going through the steps in a clear way, and this will be your 8 marks for AA1 in a murder question. So by the end of this video, you will have all the knowledge you need for a murder question for a full mark answer. So, the first element is define murder. Murder is a common law offence defined as the unlawful killing of a reasonable creature in being under the King's peace, and for some reason it's Queen's, but it should be King's peace, with malice aforethought, express or implied. It is an indictable offence carrying a mandatory life sentence. As with the most serious crimes, the prosecution must prove both the Actus Reus and mens rea. So with any essay that we're doing for OCR, I would recommend starting off with the definition about the topic you're going to be talking about. It just kind of gives you, obviously, it's the structure that I kind of teach. I'd always start with the definition because then it's just clear to the examiner that you know what you're talking about. So that should be fairly simple. Next, we have define Actus Reus. So we have to define it in a way for murder. So the Actus Reus of murder involves an unlawful killing. This means the defendant must have caused the death without lawful justification. For example, killing in excessive defence would be unlawful, as seen in R.V. Martin. Now, for most of the steps that I give, I will always try to give a case example. So we're going to go on to the third one. So define reasonable person. So for murder to be complete, the person that is killed has to be a reasonable creature and being, and this refers to a living human being. So a good case is AG's reference, number 3 of 1994. A fetus is not considered a person for this purpose unless born alive. This was the verdict that was given in the case, and we can use this case for this step in murder. And also, the killing must occur under the Queen's peace. King's. Again, it's Queen's, but it's King's. And this excludes enemy combat killing in wartime. So, obviously, if someone was killed in wartime, that wouldn't amount to murder because it's not done whilst there's peace in the country. So the next one is causation. So let's just define causation first, just so we know what we're talking about. So causation itself, literally just very simply, means that the action caused the consequence. And this has to be proven in most crimes. So there's factual causation and legal causation. So for murder, we would say, so factual causation is tested under the but-for test, and a good case would be R.V. White. So but for the defendant's actions, would the victim have died? Legal causation asks if the defendant's actions were a significant part of the consequence. So in this case, for murder, of the death. So a good case is R.V. Paget. And you may have heard of this case, but it was where a guy used his girlfriend as a shield from shots and he was responsible for her death. However, obviously, causation can be broken by an intervening act, also third parties, and good cases for this is R.V. Jordan, where negligent medical treatment broke the chain, and R.V. Roberts, where the victim's actions were foreseeable and it did not break it. So we have one where the causation was broken in R.V. Jordan and one where in R.V. Roberts the causation wasn't broken. Okay, so next one is define mens rea. So we've just gone over Actus Reus, all the Actus Reus we need in murder. And obviously when you're talking about it in an essay question, obviously when you reach your conclusion at the end, you want to make sure that all these steps have been proven in the actual scenario that is given to you in the essay. So obviously now is define mens rea for murder. So the mens rea for murder is malice aforethought, which includes both an intention to kill, which is express malice, and an intention to cause grievous bodily harm. Now it can be either or, so it could be express or implied malice. So in RV Vickers, the court confirmed that an intent to cause serious harm can be enough for a murder conviction. So even if they didn't have intent to murder someone, just causing harm and then causing an outcome of actually killing them instead is enough for a murder conviction. And this was further supported in RV Cunningham. So next we have intention. We basically just went through this in our mens rea definition, but you have to kind of go deeper into it because there's different types of intentions. So there's direct or oblique. And we would normally define both, or you can just define the one that applies to your scenario. But to be safe, I would just include both. Because sometimes we're not really sure. Sometimes a scenario can be pretty confusing, and it's good to just have all these steps written out the way that I've given them. So direct intention is when the defendant aims to bring about the result. So they actually had an aim to murder. This is seen in RV Mohan. And then oblique intention applies where the consequence is not the defendant's purpose, but it is of virtual certainty of their actions, and the defendant appreciates that. So shortly, that does sound a bit confusing, I can't lie. But what that actually means is that they had an intention to do harm, even though it wasn't the outcome that they wanted, they still had an intention to do harm, and that counts as intention, even if they didn't intend to murder. And then in RV Willian, the court held that the jury may draw out that there was an intention, even if they didn't have an intention to murder. Okay, so that's actually all the steps. And literally, those are all you need for the AO1 marks. And you'll get the full 8 marks, which is so important, because when you apply your question scenario and you talk about what applies, this is the AO2. So I kind of just want you guys to remember that. Having these steps, just, you have to revise them and just get it in your head. And once you know it, you can write it down and you can easily look at the scenario and you can kind of draw out what applies, and you can create your verdict at the end. So are they guilty or not guilty? And it's really, really good. And that way you can be hitting those top marks. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really, really helps. It is a new channel. Also, please let me know if you have any video ideas that would help, like going through exam questions. I'll be happy to do them. Thank you.